Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about both Tyler Seguin and Taylor Hall, comparing the two and deciding which one is better. Now, Hall and Seguin aren't just two random players that decided to compare against each other. They both have been, not a rivalry, but have been against each other for quite a long time, and comparing the two makes pretty good sense. Now, this all started back in the 2010 NHL season, where there was two young studs going into the 2010 NHL draft. There was two guys that were making name for themselves from Canada. They were both really good, and can you guess it? They were both Taylor Seguin and Taylor Hall, both of them being pretty similar and being ranked number 1 and number 2. And then both were on a pretty even playing field. Both of them were looking to be fantastic, and they were ranked 1 and 2. But the real question was, who was Edmonton going to take there, and who would really be their franchise-type player? At the time, Edmonton did select Taylor Hall, and he was looking to be their franchise going into the future. And Peter Chiarelli, they ended up trading him to the New Jersey Devils for Adam Larsson. Not one of the best trades looking back on it, but Taylor Hall did have a pretty good short stint with Edmonton too. And of course, Boston, with the second overall pick, had a pretty easy decision in picking Tyler Seguin, and a great one with that. Tyler Seguin ended up going, I'm pretty sure after that season, to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Boston Bruins and winning it, as he won the Cup in that season, as I think like in his second year or something like that. So he had a Stanley Cup at a young age, and with the Boston Bruins, it was looking like a very good decision at the time. And of course, Boston having a pretty easy decision with the Tyler Seguin being second overall. They chose him, and he did have a pretty good short stint with them. Of course, he won the Cup in 2011, was a pretty big factor in their run there too, and obviously was traded a couple of years later to the Dallas Stars, which would end up being one of the worst trades in Boston Bruins franchise history. And for the Dallas Stars, he's making a big name for himself. So when we look at the comparisons, they're both pretty similar players. They both were traded by Peter Chiarelli from their original team. They both were selected 1 and 2, or not 1 and 2, but they were selected high in the 2010 NHL draft. The similarities are there, and I think the comparisons are going to be even closer than they were even a year ago. I think it's as good of a comparison and as good of a race right now than I think it's ever been. I feel like Tyler Seguin had a better start to his career and more consistent start to his career, but when we see him now with the New Jersey Devils, it seems like he's found his home. It seems like he's found his stride. The New Jersey Devils, it seems like he was drafted there all along, and it's felt like he's grown there his entire life as a hockey player. It seems like he's made a home now in New Jersey, and he's playing very good now there, and that's great to see, as he wasn't the best. He wasn't first overall worthy, at least with the Edmonton Oilers. And with Tyler Seguin, he's done good things both with the Boston Bruins and great things with the Dallas Stars. He's making a name for himself and making a name to be one of the best centers in the league, along with Taylor Hall making a name for himself to be one of the best wingers in the league. So now we're going to go deep into their stats, both of them, go and see how their careers have shaken out 8 years later. I'll start with Taylor Hall, of course, with the New Jersey Devils. He's at age 26. He's the left winger for them. He won the 2017-2018 Hart Trophy, of course, and was the most valuable player this past season. The 17-18 season, he played 76 games, had 39 goals, 54 assists for 93 points, and a 51.7% corresponding percentage. He had a 57.3% ozone starts, which is a lot of offensive starts in the face-off zone. So it's a little bit of discredit because he got a lot of chances and a lot of opportunities because he was in the offensive zone so much. His career, both the New Jersey Devils and the Edmonton Oilers, he's played 529 games, had 191 goals, 283 assists for 474 points. He's had a 58.6% corresponding percentage in his career, and he's had a great one so far. Hasn't been the healthiest of ones so far, but he's starting to find that consistency. And he's, of course, broke out this past season, the New Jersey Devils, winning the Hart Trophy, and he's finally starting to take shape into that first overall player that the Oilers drafted him as and wanted him to be. And of course, I think without that breakout year this past season, I don't think that's really the comparisons would be as close. I feel like Tyler Seguin would have that runaway vote, but for me, Taylor Hall made a great improvements, great strides this past season, and of course winning the MVP, and I think having like 40 more points than the last New Jersey Devil and the points marker. He definitely showed himself to be one of the more valuable players in the league, and the New Jersey Devils pretty much led them to the NHL playoffs. And the case is certainly to be made that he was the most valuable player. Of course, he won the trophy, so he really, by definition, is the most valuable player. But Taylor Hall has made giant steps, of course, this past season with the New Jersey Devils in showing his talent, showing his first overall worthy talent. And I feel like he's starting to break out. And it might be a little bit late for that as a first overall pick at age, 26 now. But I feel like it's better late than never. For Taylor Hall, this past season was remarkable for his growth. And, of course, for the New Jersey Devils, as that rebuild was accelerated, mostly because of him. Now, of course, you got the Tyler Seguin side of things. Goes to the Dallas Stars, same age at age 26 is the centerman for them. He played the 17-18 season very, very well. He had played 82 games, had 40 goals, 38 assists for 78 points. He had a 51.5% corresponding percentage and only played 49% of his starts in the offensive zone. So with Ken Hitchcock, of course, that was a very ruthless kind of style that he really enforced on the team. Very rugged, more defensive style type team that he put forward. But with Tyler Seguin, he ended up scoring 40 goals still and still ended up being one of the best players, if not the best player on Dallas last year. He was one of the few players that actually improved on his seasons with Ken Hitchcock rather than digressing. And I feel like that was a big thing for me, is that in that rugged style, in that defensive type style that Ken Hitchcock bring, he was able to score 40 goals and is the third player in Stars history to do that. No, he didn't just make improvements offensively, he made huge improvements defensively. He was not a first-line type guy defensively seasons prior, but I can say now that he has definitely improved that overall aspect of his game. He can play penalty kill, and he can play it very, very good. And while it's not really a huge asset that he has, a lot of players can play the penalty kill well, he plays it very, very solid and a lot better than he had in years past. And just the overall 5-on-5 game is pretty decent for him as well. I feel like the defense is a lot improved, and of course, he can still bring some physicality. That's another underrated part of his game. And with Tyler Seguin, he bring a lot to the Dallas Stars. I don't know where he was in the heart voting, but he was very valuable to them throughout the whole season. He was pretty much one of the only guys that was bringing consistent offense every single night, consistent play, and he was definitely consistent throughout the whole season, just bringing that offense. Jamie Benn, pretty much the opposite, was pretty streaky, but Tyler Seguin was able to keep his cool throughout the whole season and was able to remain one of the better players in the NHL, and of course, in my opinion, the best player on the Dallas Stars. And to me, I just cannot wait for hopefully a even better year of Jim Montgomery, where he's allowed to play even a lot more time. And I feel like next season we could even see more improvements offensively, and we can see more improvements overall as well. Who would you prefer, Tyler Seguin or Taylor Hall? And it really is one of the closer race, and I feel like it has gotten even closer this past season because of what Taylor Hall has done and what Tyler Seguin has consistently done. To me, I feel like Taylor Hall is one of the more better, or is the better player overall offensively, but I don't know about his defense too much. I haven't looked too much into his defense and his overall play. I didn't get to watch too much of New Jersey last season, but I do assume that he's pretty decent, and while not the best, I still do assume that he has a lot of something to do with New Jersey's play style. So with Taylor Hall, I do know that he was the carrier of that line. He was the carrier of the New Jersey Devils. I mean, he was like 40 points above. I think Nico Hischier was the second best guy on the points marker. But with Taylor Hall, he really did carry and dominate the NHL, at the same time dominating the New Jersey Devils in points and pretty much in offensive productivity in every single facet. And to me, it was very impressive of what he was able to do, carry the New Jersey Devils, who were looking to be another rebuilding type team, into the playoffs, and definitely accelerated their rebuild and definitely accelerated them to be a lot higher in a lot of people's minds. And Taylor Hall had a great margin of doing that. He really did not have the greatest help. He didn't have the best depth. He didn't have the best team around him, but he played an MVP type season around not the best teammates, not the best line mates, but pretty much carried them to the playoffs, again, like a Nathan McKinnon, and that really has to go with Czech. That really has to have some attention on him, and it's great to see that he got the attention this last season, getting that Hart Trophy, because I think he did deserve that. But Taylor Hall was one of the more offensive rounded and better players in the NHL last season. I'd say he was a top 5 guy last season, but to me, I need to see a little bit more from him. I need to see that consistency from him. He's had a not really totally healthy career so far, and I feel like if he wants to get in that echelon, that elite echelon part of the NHL when it comes to wingers, he needs to stay a little bit more healthy, and he needs to stay a little bit more consistent. But to me, for me to put him in that elite company of NHL wingers, I need to see more from him. I need to see I need to see more healthy seasons. I need to see more consistency, and if he can do that, if he can keep producing, I feel like in no time he'll be respected as one of the greats in the NHL. So for me, when I look at the careers of both Tyler Seguin and Taylor Hall has had, 2 elite seasons, while Tyler Seguin might have had like 3, maybe even 4 of them. Tyler Seguin has been a much more consistent player throughout his career and a much more healthy player. He's been able to do that for quite a while, and while he's had a couple of injuries in his career, he's been the overall more healthy player, and especially the more consistent player, as he's been really great and a great impactful player since he came into the league. And of course, you've also got to remember that Tyler Seguin is that center. He he is in that center position while Taylor Hall is in that wing. And I feel like that just puts a little bit more value towards Seguin's name rather than Hall, who is a winger, and of course the NHL has a lot of those. But Taylor Hall has made a name for himself, especially this past season, of being that balanced offensive guy that brings so much to the New Jersey Devils and propelling them to a playoff spot and making them really better than anybody really expected them to be. And Taylor Hall definitely gets kudos for that, for really driving the New Jersey Devils and driving them to a playoff spot. And I feel like going into next season, the discussion of whether you have Taylor Hall or Tyler Seguin is going to be even more prevalent, because these players are both pretty neck and neck offensively throughout their careers, and if Taylor Hall keeps producing, Tyler Seguin will have a little bit of pressure to keep up with him. And again, while I might be a little bit biased, I am the Dallas Stars fan. They're my first favorite team, and I love Tyler Seguin to bits. He's pretty much been the Dallas Stars since I became a hockey fan, and he's been one of their best guys throughout. So I am a little bit biased here. But again, Taylor Hall has shown great strides, great improvements to become that elite player this past season, to really be that dominant guy for the New Jersey Devils. And again, I can't really dismiss that. With Tyler Hall, he's done great things in the last couple of years with the New Jersey Devils, and the race really is, in my opinion, really neck and neck between both two elite players. Taylor Hall has the elite offensive ability. Tyler Seguin does have that, but I feel like he's a little bit more overall well-rounded. And they're really two players that are going to be interesting to see in the next few years and how their careers pan out. And of course, if we can see at their careers end who was really the better player. But for me right now, I'm the Dallas Stars fan, so I'm going to pick Tyler Seguin, but it is really, really, really close, especially with Taylor Hall improving mightily this last season. Tyler Seguin, he's shown complete consistency. He's shown great seasons after year after year after year, and we see that all the time with Tyler Seguin. We see that, and we depend on him. With Taylor Hall, we haven't seen like 3-4+ seasons of elite company, of elite seasons, so I need to see, in my opinion, a little bit more consistency from him. And yes, while he showed great improvements, great strides this past season, I need to see one more season at least until I put him above Tyler Seguin. Even though the race is really, really close in my opinion, I do prefer Tyler Seguin for the position that he plays, the overall ability. In my opinion, I think he has the edge there. And overall going forward, while Taylor Hall might have more promise because of this past season, I feel like Tyler Seguin is the more consistent player and will continue to be like that. And again, it is a super close race, but to me, I just need to see more games played of elite play from Taylor Hall. If he can continue this past season and do that for a couple more years, yeah, he'll be way up of Tyler Seguin unless he does something important. But again, going into next season is going to be really interesting to see how both of these players improve, both of these players play, and of course what the debate will look like next season, because of course it is still ongoing and is still very strong today. So that's going to be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe. Again, comment down below, what is your opinions? Do you like Taylor Hall? Do you prefer Tyler Seguin? What are your opinions on both players? And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.